And welcome back to our next segment where we have Fran Ponick, who's just an extraordinary individual, and her company, Leadership English. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Jeff.
Fran, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I was born in Ireland, and my parents came here when we were children. What I found out was that the English that I learned in Ireland was not the English that I heard on the playground. So I have a great deal of sympathy for people who come to this country with English as a second language, because in a way that's what I did.
And that's happening a lot with the technology and people starting up businesses here in this country, right?
Oh, absolutely. I researched the 7 top languages. I'm not going to repeat them all to you, but we've got massive quantities of people coming in to the Washington area who have English as a second language and who are highly trained professionals as well.
You speak a few languages yourself, don't you?
Well, I have had a little background in French, German, 2 years of Latin in high school, and Spanish as well.
Still speak Gaelic?
Only the sign of the cross.
So tell us a little bit about some of the problems that you help these executives solve with their languaging.
Well, what happens is a lot of times people have a very good language skills, but they're all in here. They know the grammar, they know the vocabulary, sometimes they know our literature better than we do. Yet, when you're in a class, and basically the teacher can talk to many students, but only one student at a time gets an opportunity to pronounce or read aloud or speak aloud. And that's what I help with. I help with people who are at an intermediate level of English language development, who are ready to go to the next step. They may have pronunciation issues, they may have minor grammar issues, and they may have presentation fear, because giving a talk in your native language is hard enough, much less in a second language.
Yeah. Now, both of us would be remiss if we didn't mention Toastmasters International, and of course...
Well, yeah, we're both members, aren't we?
We are. And I was just thinking, do you also coach people on their presentation skills, body language, tone of voice, things like that?
I certainly do. I do a fair amount of that. Now, Toastmasters is a fine organization. In fact, as we mentioned, you and I belong. But there are certain things that you can't drill down to in terms of detail at Toastmasters. And those are the areas that I cover. I've also helped people get into Toastmasters who are a little bit too nervous to start, and I've helped advanced Toastmasters who are fine-tuning their skills for presentations either in public or for their businesses.
And that's one of the services that you provide executives of businesses that are coming into the United States.
Absolutely, yes. In fact, it's my delight to work with those people because they're so eager, they're so ambitious, and they're very good students.
What would you say some of the common issues or problems that some of these folks have?
Sometimes there's an issue with pronunciation. For example, in Russian, V and W. There is really not much of a W sound in Russian, so they'll use V. They'll say, I feel verse instead of worse. There are other issues with T and D, and T and th and duh. And I had a wonderful time last week helping a client hear the difference and then speak the difference between lick, like, lack, and leak. So we've got vowels going on too.
Got to be a challenge. What are some of the other common problems that you run into with them?
Usually people have fear. They sometimes have a fear of presentation. Sometimes they'll be missing the use of articles in English, and the or an. Many languages are not stressed languages. That means that they don't use the pitches that we use, and the pauses and the rhythms that are essential in English. So if you hear someone, you know, a talented professional speaking in a sort of a sing-song rhythm, it may be because their first language taught them how to speak that way.
Cultural almost.
Yeah, when we're babies, we can speak any language theoretically, but as time goes by, it's actually the muscles in our jaws and our other vocal apparatus basically gets used to speaking the sounds that we hear around us. So to acquire a second language requires not just It's like working out or playing or learning to play the piano. You have to practice. You have to practice the muscle movements. But before you can make the sound, you have to know how to hear the sound. So there are sounds, for example, when I was learning French, the difference between femme and femme, hunger and woman. And I can't even guarantee I'm pronouncing it exactly right now, but there is a very fine difference that I had to learn. And that's just me and one word in French. You can
Sure.
imagine what it's like for people who are coming from very different languages.
So how are you going about doing your marketing and your advertising to let people know about your services?
Well, the first thing I don't do is tell them that they don't speak well.
Good idea.
What I have to do is if someone expresses a concern with or apologizes for their accent or just is very difficult to understand, I'll talk about that in a gentle but direct way. I mirror them, and that's how I do that. I also write articles for local publications, talk to people like you. I have a column with Washington Times Communities, and I write about language skills. I'm a proud member of the Asian American Chamber of Commerce, and I'm on a couple committees there. So I try to make sure that people see who I am
Excellent.
and share what I do.
Now, I'd like to invite you to come back on another show and maybe bring a guest with you if you'd like.
Oh, I'd be
Kind of
delighted.
give us a demonstration and talk about some of the exercises. I think it'll pay off because you help regular English-speaking people
Oh, absolutely.
perfect their skills also.
Yes, sometimes people will have a regional accent or they've learned a certain accent in school that is not what we would call leadership
Right.
English.
Thanks so much.